Jasmine takes forever. Who here thinks Jasmine takes forever? Vote. Everybody voted, Jasmine. I won the popular vote and the electoral college. Who voted? You? We never got another table? For cutest person? I can't stand cats. Being honest.
In our reality, I used to have 7. I only have 5. It brings it down to 10 animals.
I've got one that I wish I didn't have.
Boomer's still there? In our reality, there's a chihuahua.
Nah, Boomer's alright. Boomer's alright. He doesn't run away anymore, so he's cool.
Okay, you think he's alright because he's never molested.
That's true. Yeah, dude. Just one day, he just chills in the backyard now. Like, suddenly. He doesn't dig. He doesn't... I mean, if you open the front door, like, he'll go out. But he's only out for like a minute and a half, though. He, like, runs, and then he comes back. He's tired of it. He's like, I'm too old for this crap. What? He's going to die? Yeah. Yeah. He is a good lap dog. Yeah. Okay, we ready? All right. So I have some things here that just, some of it, we already know. We've just got lax on. As I said before, a lot of us have done this for a really long time, and so, we just get slack sometimes. But here's what we have so much going on with media and music that I've tried extremely hard to be diligent to program and plan ahead and things like that. There's a lot that goes into it, and I usually spend about an entire day, and then on Sunday morning I get here between 6:30 and 6:45. If I'm not here by 6:45, then I'm stressed out because I'm behind. And so there's a whole lot to making happen what happens on Sunday morning. But I'm going to start by, I'm going to talk to every group, but just in general, our purpose as volunteers in the body of Christ, one thing that we're working on as a church is some core values, and we got 3 or 4 of them written the other day. I don't know how many we'll end up with, but it's coming soon. But for now, our purpose, number 1, is to serve others through what we do, media and sound and band-wise. Serve others. Number 2, to share God's love with clarity. And number 3, the reason why we do those 2 things, serve others and share God's love with clarity, is so that people will call on Jesus as the answer. It's the only reason we're here. It's the only reason we exist as a church. is so that people call on Jesus as the answer. So, as a band, number one, we need to be professional and responsible. Every one of us, even though we're not, Chris, I guess, is the only one that would be called a music professional. I guess maybe I would too, because that's my job title. But every one of us, we play at a level that is a professional level. So we need to, and really as our media team too, be professional and be responsible. We need to act like professionals. So this will be a reoccurring theme, and you all know that this would be in the list somewhere, but be here on time for rehearsals. It's extremely important to be here on time for rehearsals. We've talked about how I try to respect your time. Respect the time of everybody else too. We all have a million reasons for why we're not here on time, but really I get tired of all the reasons. What it comes down to is whether it's important to you or not, and if it's important to you, you'll be here. If it's not, you won't be. Be here on time for rehearsals. We have very little rehearsal time to do what we do. As I said before, to do what we do, we should have 3 or 4 hours of rehearsal time, which we don't. We come in on a Sunday morning at 8 o'clock, and we've got to be done by 9:15. We've got an hour and 15 minutes to put everything together. So even your 5 minutes late is a big deal. That's one time through the song. That's a really big deal. Check out all your areas ahead of time. There's nothing that upsets me more than when we've been here for 10 minutes, but you don't know that you don't have a cable until 5 minutes after we start. Check out your area ahead of time. You knew you needed a cable, so let's be professional about it. Gather up all your equipment when you get here. Once again, when we've been here for 5 or 10 minutes, but you didn't know that your battery was dead, or you didn't know that you couldn't find your microphone or whatever, then that just took time out of our practice time, because we wasted time. Next thing I have is be here on time for rehearsal. The next thing I have is know how to troubleshoot and take care of repairs. That's part of being professional as well. I don't expect you, we're all learning, and I don't expect you to have all the experience that I have in troubleshooting and stuff like that. But what tends to happen is we pick up our instrument or whatever, it doesn't work, and we're like, oh, it doesn't work. Okay, so fix it. And it's like sometimes I feel that you expect me to fix everything for you, but I'm doing 1,000 things, and I've already been here for an hour and a half trying to get everything ready. If you need a battery, get one. If you need a cord, get one. If you need a new cord, get one. Find out where they're at and get one. If you've got a stand that's broken or whatever, take care of it. It's not that difficult. Maybe something's beyond your reach or whatever, and that's fine. And then we can tackle that together. This morning we had a broken bass string that we didn't know we had a broken bass string. Those things happen. But if we can do everything we need to do everything we can do to minimize that. Because there's going to be plenty of things that happen that we didn't anticipate, so we do everything we can do to minimize it. The good thing that happened is we noticed the bass string was broken a few minutes before 8. So it wasn't 8:10 or 8:15 when we found out, oh crap, we have a broken bass string. And then we did what we could to fix it. One change that I'm going to make is every one of us, you need to make sure that we have 2 extra of what you need. Now, we don't right now, but we need 2 sets of bass strings. We need 2 sets of, cables, and one thing that I've been doing is inventorying, because we've had things scattered everywhere, which isn't good. So we need extra sticks, we need extra. So that way, like Joey, I'm going to order 3 sets of bass strings. So and for Chris and Elijah when he plays bass. And so if you guys need them or whatever, I know that most of you, you put your own strings on and stuff like that, and that's great, but I want to be able to have some here just in case we need them. And so I'm going to order 3 sets of bass strings. We're going to put them on put 1 set on this bass, but then whoever uses the next set, Chris breaks a string or whatever and puts the set on, which is fine, and that's what it's here for. But let me know, and then we'll order 1. And that way, if we have one break while the other's coming in, we still have a set. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes. It's a good idea. I think it needs to be digital, I think, because if it's a piece of paper, we'll lose it. But, yeah, just throw it on there. This is what we need. So the question I did have, though, is do the basses that we have, do they use different gauges of strings? I don't know enough about bass strings. Yeah, we could create a wonder list. That's perfect. Okay, I'll do that. That's a good idea. Do your basses use a different gauge than what we use, or same? Okay. And just something generic. I mean, if you have a different one that you like, that's fine. Keep keep strings on your own bass. But you know what I mean? That way, in a pinch, we've got them. Same thing with guitar strings. I'm going to order several sets of electric strings, acoustic strings. I've got 3 sets of elixirs right now, actually. So we should be good on that. Yeah, well, it's not like that today. And one of the reasons it happened like that during Joy is just because we kept it clean for a long time, but then it just got out of hand. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I think it's excellent. Yeah, and we need to organize like that. I agree. That's been kind of my aim right now. I organized cables actually last week, and so I've got all of anything that involves a microphone. It's all together. Instrument cables, which we only have a couple of, but I got all those together. So I'm getting there. I think that'd be easier. I agree. Everybody rolls up a cable and they stuff it into a drawer. Yeah, and then you have no idea. That's right. Well, and the other thing, too, I think is if you have to go grab one real fast, how the heck are you going to grab anything real fast? You're like throwing crap and searching through and, you can't. But if you need a mic cable real quick, I can run back there, I can grab one off the wall. So I agree. Yeah. Uh-huh. And I think we're going to actually do it in this one. That room's worse than this room, so. This room, it's not bad. The only thing that's bad in here is the shelf and that little cabinet. But, so we just need to be diligent about those things. Sticks, heads. It'll probably take us a while to have an extra set of heads because heads are expensive. But we need an extra set of everything. I don't think we need 2 extra sets of heads, probably. But just 1 extra set would be fine. So next is be here on time for rehearsal. Maybe a little reoccurring theme. Bring ideas to make it better. I think we all pretty much do that, but I always put it on the list anyway. I want you to know that you can bring ideas. So here's a big one. Be ready for the next part of service, and don't abandon your station. As far as the band goes, we need to be here all through service. That happens a lot where we're not. I don't understand that. It shouldn't ever happen. And then, like today, we have like half of the band come up at the end. Some come up at the beginning. Some come up like a minute later. It looks like we don't know what the heck we're doing. We need to pay attention. We need to be there. We need to all be there. Every single week, we need to all be there. It's never a question of whether we need to be there or not. The biggest reason is I don't know what's going to happen at the end of service, but I can guarantee this. God will not move into a worship song if we're not ready to play one. So we want to be there ready to do whatever God wants to do. 99.9% of the time, we're going to play a little bit and we're going to be done. And we're not going to sing and we're not going to do anything. But I want to be ready for whatever God may want to do. And I don't know what that is. But if we're not ready, then we didn't do our part. So every single time, I know it's awkward to stand up there when you're not going to sing. But we just need to be up there, be ready, be praying, be a leader. We need to be engaged in the service. I feel like sometimes we act like hired musicians. We come in, we play, and that was my purpose. I just come in and I play, collect my check, only you get paid crappy. You get like one dinner a year. So all of our transitions need to be smooth. We've talked a lot about that, but nothing abrupt unless specifically stated. We've started a new thing to try and get better at our communication. Right at 8 o'clock when we start practice, we have just a quick rundown of the service in case there's anything special, make sure everybody knows what's going on. Pastor's meeting with us just to make sure we're all good. And we need to do that. And then it helps us to pray at the beginning of service too, or the beginning of practice too, which we didn't do today. But that's something that we're always lax on. Have you noticed that? We do good for a little while and then we suck at it for a little while. So that'll help us to do that as well. This includes media too. I've got to have, like today, there were things that I needed to tell you, but there wasn't anybody here. Yeah, at 8 o'clock. Well, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. That's not necessarily. But we'll have that service flow meeting, and I got to have everybody here. We need to, everybody needs to be engaged during sound check. And that includes the media as well. Be engaged during sound check because there's a lot of things that we need that we don't need to take forever to take time to do. So be engaged during the sound check. This is just because it happened twice today, but it happens a lot actually. Don't drop crap. I know you never drop anything on purpose, but I mean, you never drop anything on purpose, but like pay attention to not drop something on accident. You know what I mean? Like,
Honestly, I saw that was there, and I thought to myself, that's not a good spot, but that might actually knock it down.
yeah,
So I had to move it earlier.
yeah. It's those kind of things. Yeah, just doing everything we can do to prevent it. It still might happen. I mean, I get it. We have a lot of stuff all over the place. But that's another reason why we need to keep everything clean. Because if there's things there that don't need to be there, then we're going to knock it over. Is that what happened? So we need to spread the stands.
No, I already did. Like, it keeps, the ride keeps
Just need to tighten down?
it was tight. It like, for some
Wait, did you tighten it? Because maybe Jasmine needs to tighten it. We could just put a little piece of tape there on top of it, a little piece of duct tape so it doesn't slide up.
but it stays tight. It's weird.
Okay. Well, if we need a new stand, maybe we need a new stand. I don't know. Yeah. That's what I heard. Yeah. I think one of the things that would help with that too, and this is my fault, but our cord management back there is non-existent. So, yeah, and part of that is, well, the biggest part of that is my fault. So we need to get a rack for the thing so it's neat, and then we can tape up the cords, which we could tape those up now anyway. And then running from the rack to the distribution, we could tape those up and put them behind or Velcro them. So I will hopefully work on that this week. I've got a short week, but I'm going to try. Yeah. Okay. How big is this thing? 6 by 6? We need to just go get a carpet square that's like 5.5 by 5.5 at Lowe's. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because we're going to have to pull it out, put it back, pull it out, put it back. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that. We need to just go get a carpet square that will just fit in there. We don't have any scraps, do we? I don't think we do. Should have kept one when we pulled this up, but okay. Doesn't matter what it looks like at all. But, okay. My iPad just died. Y'all got excited. You thought the meeting was over. I have a backup. So, just did an update. Let me wait for it to update. Yeah. Yeah. We can have that as a goal. Shaker. Oh, a djembe. To play the other djembe too. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's great. Yes, sir. Yeah. Little hook or something. Okay. You guys put these things down so I can remember. So be engaged. Don't drop crap. Be on time for rehearsals. That was on there. Yeah. Altar music I already talked about. Keeping the area clean I already talked about. Lead always, not just on stage. We've talked about this some too, but people think when people come to church, they see us up on the stage. I don't know if anybody thinks this because nobody's ever said this to me, but I always wonder if the only time they see you is up on the stage, but not like engaged in anything else that's happening at the church. Do they think that you have an ego and that's why you're not? I've wondered that because I know different. But in other words, I'd like to see you guys more engaged with things that we do. I think it's important, and it'll help people to make a connection too. And then 9:25 prayer for everyone, and we've struggled the last couple weeks with us being ready for that. But once again, there's times that I get called away or whatever, but there's prayer at 9:25 whether I'm there or not. So take the initiative and have it. I think, did you guys do prayer this morning in the lobby like last week? Did you guys have prayer this morning in the lobby like last week? Yeah. So, even if they can't do it in the sanctuary because we're tied up, but if we're tied up, we won't be there, right? So, but that's really important. God instructed us to do it. We need to do it. So for sound, and for those of you who do sound, kind of a checklist, and we had a checklist up there, and I don't know what happened to it. I think just during Joy it got taken away somewhere, but we'll put it back. But when it says like FOH, it means front of house. We always need to check the front of house mix, always be engaged in doing that. Don't assume it's right, because it's probably not. check the front of house for mix, walk around to various spots in the auditorium. These are things that Ryan already does. He's done it for so long. But when we're bringing on other people and stuff, if Ryan's not here, then what tends to happen is the person who does sound is just like a pretty face back there, or an ugly one, depending on who is back there. But be engaged in it. Maybe you don't know how to do everything or whatever, but that's how you learn. That's how Ryan learned, was just asking questions, figuring out stuff, trying to make it sound better. Ryan went to the school of hard knocks for sound. So, and there's still a lot to learn. We all still have a whole lot to learn. And one thing that I do on sound, and I know Ryan has done this too, find like an article on the internet or a manual or whatever, and like get ideas from other people and how you do this. Whoa, how do I do that? Well, I haven't been able to get the drums to sound right. The drums are the hardest thing in the dang world. So I wonder if Google has anything to say about that, or just whatever. Google has everything. What? Well, just always though. Like not that they sound bad today. They're the hardest thing to mix, period. Yeah. So we need to tune them. Yeah. So walk around to various spots, ensure proper distribution. Every single week, we should mute the house to check the camera mix. So whoever's doing sound, every single week, we should mute the house to check the camera. It shouldn't affect us because we have in-ears, and that does affect us a little bit. But we need to do that every single week. Mute the house to check the camera mix. I don't know. I think probably in the 2 years we've been live streaming, we've probably had like 4 services that have been like a really good mix for the sound. It's very hard. I mean, I'm not saying that like to knock anybody. It's extremely hard to mix. But every week we need to do that. Every week we need to check the level on the headset mic and the announcer mic. If you don't check them ahead of time, there's going to be something wrong. So every single week, even if pastor's not in here, grab his mic, put it on, check, walk around to a couple different spots, no feedback, we're good. Pick up that one, turn it on, check, we're good, okay. Every week we need to do those things. No surprises. We want to minimize surprises because surprises in our areas are a distraction for the service. So we need to minimize the surprises. We need to check the level of the music, the headset, the announcer mic, in the lobby. But that's going to be the same mix as your camera right now. So we need to check it out there. And then very important for everybody, if you use an iPad, return your iPad to the charger after service. That's another thing that puts us behind sometimes if we have to charge the iPad because we didn't know it was dead until practice time. You also need to know how to turn your stuff on. The sound is on when you get here. Everything's on when you get here 99.9% of the time because I turn it on. But what if I'm not here? Do we just stare at it and say, or do we wait for Joyce to get here to turn it on? Or, huh? Yeah. We need to know how to turn everything on, know how to boot everything up. Sound, know how to navigate the program. It's not super easy to do. And like even Ryan this morning had to ask, now how do I do this again? That's not a big deal, But I appreciate the fact that he didn't just look at it and say, it's not on the right spot, so I can't do anything. And then afterwards, yeah. But it happens. I mean, it happens. We look at it and we say, oh, I can't do anything. It's not in the right spot. And then afterwards, I'm like, how was the mix? I don't know. It wasn't in the right spot. Are you kidding me? So we didn't do anything at all? So ask a question if you don't know. It's not a big deal. That's how you learn. Lights checklist. If you're running lights, go through the light cues as the band runs through their set to get familiar, to identify potential problems. This morning, this was hard to notice because I went through the light cues and I didn't notice until I was on the stage. But there was one song, like one light cue, where there was a weird effect going on one of the lights. Did you see it? So we need to fix that. Yeah. So if you see it, it was a mistake. So if you see something you think is a mistake, Let's fix it. Maybe you don't know how to fix it. Draw attention and then say, how do we fix this? And then I could show you how to fix it. So let's not just take for granted that it was on there and we were like, maybe it was supposed to be that way. If it looks like a mistake, it probably is a mistake. If it's not, then I could just say, hey, no, I meant it that way. Thanks for noticing. But
This morning, I don't know if this is intentional or if this was an oversight, but when the confession came up here, I couldn't read it because of the light beams in front of it.
yeah, I just didn't think about it. So that's another thing. So if you notice those things, let's say something about it so we can fix them. We could have just turned off those pretty easily. So, okay, pay attention to the amount of fog. The fog is programmed in, but until I run through the whole song, and a lot of times I don't run through the whole songs in programming. So, and if I'm not running through them, I don't really know how much fog we're putting in. I try to, about every other cue, I try to put in fog so that we have enough to show the beams, but not too much to where you're like, are we in the basement of that 70s show, you know? So anyway, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes we stay on one cue forever, and I shouldn't have put fog on it or something. So you can also control how fast the fog comes out, and maybe we just have it too fast. Maybe we need to slow it down, and it would be okay. So as we're rehearsing, pay attention, and I need to show everybody that does lights how to adjust that, because I can show you how to adjust it. You can adjust it right there, and you're good. And if we're doing that diligently, if we're going through the cues, then we'll know those things. And then one thing I noticed this morning, lights should fade one to another. If they don't fade, it's very seldom when it's not fading, especially during worship. If it's a show like Joy, sometimes we want something abrupt. There's less mistakes in something like Joy, too, because I programmed lights for 4 days straight on Joy. So everything was pretty set. But as far as like a regular worship service goes, we want things to fade one to another. If they're not fading, then there's an error somewhere. And 99% of the time, it's a check mark that you have to click on the edit screen. Because that check mark tells it to transition. And so there were some this morning that I noticed during worship that were kind of abrupt. We probably just didn't have the check mark checked. But yeah. 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 So I just need to show you how to do it because it's not hard. But it probably was just an oversight that the check mark wasn't checked, or I usually set the beginning of a cue to fade in like 2 seconds. So one of two things didn't happen. Either the check mark or the 2 seconds wasn't on there. So, and then what happens is we use, I don't know, you probably noticed the lights are almost the same every week for every song. And so that's because I use the same cues and I just kind of change them up a little bit. So you get one cue that's wrong, and then you use that wrong cue the next week and the next week and the next, you know what I mean? So we fix it once and we've kind of fixed it. So, and I can show you those things real fast. And then the other thing is, don't have moving lights during talking or a very soft part of the music unless specifically instructed. We've had times where we click a light cue. Maybe it was labeled that way, but use your judgment on that. It could have been labeled wrong, but we bring a song way down, and we're like, everybody just worship Jesus. The lights are going, zoom, you know, all crazy. We don't want that to happen. And so if you see that, and you're like, well, that's what was programmed, first of all, we should notice that in rehearsal. But secondly, just use your judgment and go back to one that you knew didn't do that, and that's fine. The lights are real subjective, so especially during worship, just do what looks good. Do what enhances. We don't want to distract, we want to enhance. If there's a light that you turn on, and maybe it looked great, but you realize during worship that it's just sitting in somebody's eye, just don't go back to it. Go to another one, and that'll be fine. I would rather do that than to blind somebody during worship. I try to, when I program, make sure that these are above head level but I don't always get it right. So once again, just use your judgment on that. So the computer, we've added another computer, which has complicated things a lot. And we haven't really got it down. I think really what we need to do is add a person up there to run that second computer. Right now, I think probably the sound person could double, but during sound check, that's hard because during sound check, the sound person's really busy. So we'll work on that a little bit. I'm going to talk about new volunteers in a minute. But for camera or for computer, we need to go through the lyrics as the band runs through the set to get familiar with them and to identify potential problems. This morning we had a line that we didn't have in there, and so we noticed that. We were able to fix it. Yeah. 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 That's fine. I mean, and that's all learning, but if we know ahead of time, then we can fix it. And that way everybody's like, what the heck are they singing? And you're like, I don't know. It's not my fault. Yes. So if you'll download Music Stand on your phone and log in the same way that you do for your planning center, then they're on there. And most of the time, this week they weren't, but most of the time they're on there by Thursday evening. And so it'll give you the songs that we have. Yeah. Well, they're not on their Thursday evening, but they're on Music Stand. Thursday or Friday. So, yeah, that's when you get it. Oh, that's an automatic text to remind. Uh-huh. Yeah, and we won't ever run lyrics on both computers, so it'll either be a lyric video or just a background on here. So we've been doing the confession on here. I'll explain a little bit about that in a minute and some of the problems I'm having back there and how we can hopefully make it better. But so then go through all the videos, pictures, make sure we've got everything, and you can do that as soon as we're done sound checking. Run through those videos, make sure they're working or whatever. Check the logo, make sure it's cool, and then don't leave your station until we're running what... I really would like it if you didn't leave your station. You can leave it for a second, but what happens is we go and then we get caught up, get lost track of time, and then things start late. So, but one thing I've noticed is we'll leave like the lyrics up there or something, or leave lights wrong or whatever. So I understand you've been here since 8 o'clock. You've been here for an hour and a half. You need to go pee or whatever. Do that, but then come back to your station. That way you're ready to go. You haven't abandoned your station.
And like today, when I was having to fix stuff,
Yeah.
nobody was up here,
Yeah.
and nobody learned anything how I fixed the computer,
Yeah.
or how I got it.
So then we've now created a situation where only I or Joyce know how to do that. And what if neither one of us are here? So we've just created another level, and she had things she needed to do, I had things I needed to do, and it was somebody else's station. There's a time where you have to learn. I'm not like getting onto you for that, because if you don't know, you don't know. But take the steps to learn. Then next time you could fix it just real quick as we're doing worship, and that's the idea. So, right, right. And I try my best to have it all done. I mean, it upsets me when it's not, because that means I made a mistake. And that happens like every week. I make a mistake on something. But so on the video matrix, and we haven't ever done very much with the video matrix, but I put a new, like a label on top of it that says what each thing does. Like output 1, that little white remote, it has like A1, A2, A3, A4, B1, B2, B3, B4. So output A, I think I'm saying that right, is the side projectors. Output B is the TVs in the foyer. Output C is the TVs in the cafe. And D is ideally this center projector. Now, the reason I say ideally is I have the projector working through the system, but I don't have the laptop. The laptop crashes the whole system. If I plug it in, it like flickers and like all the lights go dim. It's creepy as crap. The main computer freezes when I plug in the laptop through the system. So I haven't figured that out yet. I don't know what the problem is. But it all works fine if it's not plugged through the system. I think it's a resolution issue, and Apple tries to fix that automatically. So I think it's fighting, and so it just keeps fighting, and then it just I think, yeah. But there's got to be a way to fix it. I just don't know how yet. But the inputs, the main computer is one. The broadcast feed, which is all the stuff that's running through Damien's equipment, is 2. The other computer, even though it's not hooked up that way now, the other computer will be 3, and then we're going to hook up the cable TV to 4. We haven't done that yet. So right now, all you have to worry about is either computer or broadcast. But we need to make sure they're on the correct one. So camera checklist, and that's technical. I wasn't going to get real technical today, but that was some stuff that was a little technical. It's more just like things that you need to check. You need to be sure and check these things. Camera checklist, we need to set up the live stream event. Joyce always does that, but you can do it from the computer, right? I think. Should be. I just do it from my phone. You do too. Yeah. That's not so crucial because anybody can do that from anywhere. I mean, yeah. Right. That's true. Yep. That's what we've done with this checklist. Yeah. Yeah. So the second thing is we need to make sure the equipment, including the switcher, are working properly. The switcher is the little iPod Touch. You need to make sure that if you're working camera, make sure that that's working properly, that you can switch. I walked out today, and the camera was on all the screens out there. We don't want that, because then everybody that walks in can see all the stuff that we're doing in here. So we need that not to happen. So we need to use that switcher, and that's what the monitor's for, is to tell what's out there. That's just tacky. It looks really tacky. Work with the sound person to ensure a good camera mix. So once again, if the sound person thinks that they're done but they haven't checked the cameraman needs to say, hey, we need to check the sound. Oh yeah, I forgot. So check the TVs in the lobby, make sure it's the computer feed before service and camera during service. Whatever you're showing on the TV out there is what you're broadcasting on live stream, all right? It's the exact same feed. So that's a good way to check and make sure, but you also have a monitor up there to check. It should be on output 2 on the video matrix. Then you need to remember to go live. You go live about 10 minutes before service starts. You can go live. Once again, we need to make sure it's not the camera feed then. We need to make sure it's the computer feed. Generally, run all videos from the camera feed and use camera feed the rest. I don't know what that means. This is old. Oh, and if you're running camera, the whole time you need to be engaged. Use camera angles. One thing, we used to have 2 camera angles available. We took those away because we weren't ever using them anyway, and it was kind of a pain in the butt. But I want to use them. So we need to use camera angles, zoom, follow, to create a professional looking broadcast. Anybody can set up there, do a generic, and press start. But that's not why we have a technician. We have a technician so that you can make it look good. We could start it and end it without you. But we don't want to do that because it looks crappy. There's no reason why we can't make it look good. So use camera angles, zoom, and following. When pastor's preaching, it shouldn't just be a shot of the whole auditorium. It should be zoomed in on him, following him, paying attention, being engaged in what's going on. That's more than anything with our media, with sound, lights. We tend to check out whenever the message starts. So like last week, there's something the pastor wanted during the message, but it was a big deal to put it up because we were zoned out, checked out, and didn't know when he was saying, I need this right now. Don't check out. Don't zone out. Don't abandon your post. If you're there, you need to be in the sound booth for the service. Don't get it. You're like, well, I'm just doing lights. Okay, sit behind the light board and pay attention to the service. Same thing, sound. You need to be there. Sound is a little different because you can take the iPad to your seat, which is awesome. But you need to have it with you because that's your station for today. Camera, you need to be following. Computer, you need to be ready for whatever you need to do. You may need to put up I don't like it that Joyce has to go back there after playing keyboard, has to go back there to run everything because everybody thinks they're just here for worship and that's it. You're not just here for worship, you're here for the service. So be engaged in the service. Joyce already did her part of the service. That was playing the keyboard. I mean, I appreciate it, and it's awesome to have the versatility and that she knows how to do it, but she shouldn't have that burden. Shouldn't have to do it. Right. You can always go and get her if you need to. Yeah. Right. Right. Future goals, and we're going to be done, unless we have conversation to have. Future goals, we're already moving. We're always moving forward. I'll say this, that I'm really happy that things that we've been working on for years and years and years in our sound and media, we have. We've been able to really do some amazing things on a shoestring budget. We don't spend much money on this stuff, or we buy it in stages, or we're creative of how we do it. Right now we've got about $300 a month or whatever that we're paying on for the next year for stuff that we bought. And that's kind of how we do it. We buy stuff, we pay little amounts on it for a long time. And then when we get that, we buy some more stuff. We've been blessed to be able to go and provide sound reinforcement for some things in the community and get paid for it. That's how we bought our new soundboard. That's how we bought our projector and our screen, our new one, which is awesome, by the way. So, we've been able to do those things, and it's just been a really big blessing to be able to do it. We're pretty caught up. I mean, we have some maintenance things to do, like strings and stuff like that. But as far as like big ticket items, the only thing that I have in a big ticket item is that I would like to do is we need to get a little better face lighting and I don't even, if I had the money today, I don't even know what I would buy. I've got to research it a little bit. We need a little better face lighting for broadcast. We fight our low ceiling, and that's hard. But I honestly think if we got 3 or 4 more of those bars, we'd be okay. But I'm going to do some more research before we buy. So that's one of them. We need 4 additional media volunteers. And that's not counting a new position for second computer, but we need 4 additional volunteers to help fill in some holes. We don't have enough people on camera right now. We don't have enough people on. We're pretty good on computer and on lights, but we don't have enough people for sound, and we don't have enough people for camera. So we need to be praying for 4 more media volunteers. We need to be, and one of our goals, and we need to be praying for this, is growing in technique, growing in how we flow with the Spirit of God. And let me just say this, flowing with the Spirit in a service is not just the job of the band. The media need to be able to flow too. And so let's just say, for example, somebody comes up to share something. you need to be able to access what's going on and turn up the microphone that's needed, or make the adjustment, or make sure that the lights aren't distracting in that time or that area. That's a part of the ministry, just like, and it's not any less a part than us standing up there and knowing when to bring down our music or whatever. Knowing how to create the mood. So flowing with the Spirit and then connecting with the congregation. That's something as a band we lack quite a bit, is connecting with the congregation. I was noticing this the other day. Desiree, I was noticing it this morning with you, but I noticed it with Isaiah the other night too. When you're clapping, just as a rule of thumb, don't have your elbows touch your sides. Because then you do this, you look like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. But we need to have, big movements, and because it helps to connect. When you're looking, don't look aimlessly. Make a connection with the crowd. You know what I'm saying? So, well, you're not going to make total eye contact and how you doing? But we're connecting with the crowd. I'm picking on Desiree because I just happened to notice it during the first song today. But you were like this, clapping like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then kind of staring at a screw on the stage or something, really, almost really disconnected. I was like, whoa. No, I know you were. I know you were, but that's something we need to work on, is connecting with the audience. I'm going to get I didn't put this on my list, but I should have. This is going to be in the next 2 weeks, if I can swing it. We're going to have a TV out here for our words, so that we can look out and not look down, or so that we can look out. Yeah.
Another thing that's really bad, I know I do sometimes, but it makes it so stupid. When someone is talking and you zone out, you look like an idiot.
Yeah, truthful.
So stupid. And your mouth's open now,
You're drooling.
and you're just staring at nothing.
Yeah.
And then you forget that you're on stage, and that there's, just the pastor's up there talking does not mean that they're not looking at you.
Oh, yeah.
But you need to be mindful of what you're doing when you're not doing it.
Yeah.
You look dumb. Whenever pastor's up there talking, I'm standing there staring at you. Because what I see so back and forth. So it looks like I'm this. I'm not.
I know Jason thinks that everybody's always looking at him, but it's not true. So, okay, we digress. Okay, guys. And then the other thing would be, one thing that I'm researching right now that we're kind of caught up, we've got our ear monitors, that helps our sound distribution out there. I think I'm just going to take these away. They're not hooked up anyway. They're just sitting there and look ugly. But, huh? Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. It just, in this size of a room, it just hurts our sound reinforcement. So that's the main reason we wanted to go to in-ears. I'm going to add a talkback mic. I actually forgot about it till just now. But I'm going to add a mic to be able to talk to the band, which we need to do desperately. And I talked to you yesterday about giving you that one for your own mix. Another thing that we need to do is if you have a smartphone, which I think we all do, you can get music stand on your phone. So bring it, or your tablet or whatever. Don't rely on our stuff, because our stuff keeps walking away. So don't rely on our stuff. Always just know you need to bring your stuff in order to view the music or whatever. We have those for people who don't have them. So if you've got it, bring it. If you've got an Apple device, and I'm sorry that it's only available on Apple, bring it so you can do your own mix. Because that's something that takes off of the sound man, that we don't have to say, hey, can I get this or can I get that? We have the capability. We spend a lot of money to get it to where you have your own mix. So let's use it if you have that device, okay? But anyway, one thing now that we're kind of caught up and we've done a lot of things that we've been wanting to do for years, I'm going to do some research on our sound reinforcement and our sound distribution. I don't know what we need to do. We've always had hot spots in here where it sounds really loud and where it's not, and where it's a little more muffly and where it's a little more clear. I know that it's just a limitation of our speakers and the location of them. So it's not that we don't have good speakers, but it's just we have 2 speakers and that's where they're at. So the best spot is like kind of where Sherry's sitting. That's the best spot. The front row is dead. The sides, you get blasted. So I'm going to do a little research on what we can do. If we could spend, I would say, even $3,000 or $4,000 and get some really good sound reinforcement, then about September, I think we'll be ready to do that. So I'm going to do research between now and then. I don't want to buy just to buy. But if there's something that we can do that would make it real even across the whole, if we had a higher ceiling, it'd be a heck of a lot easier. But yes, sir. They have line arrays, I bet. I don't think that hurts us, though. I mean, it would probably help. That's one thing when we took the carpet out we were scared of. But I haven't been... I don't think it's too live in here. Right. Yeah, I don't think it's too live. The sound doesn't bounce around too much. It's just, we just have the hot spots. Yeah, definitely. It's so live in there. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. But you reach all kinds of problems if you start putting speakers around the room. I don't think we want that. But what I was thinking is... Yeah. Yeah. Right. What I was thinking maybe, and once again, we fight the stupid low ceiling, but like if we had distribution of speakers along here, we'd be a whole lot better. I don't know if there's something we could use that would allow us to do that. So we'll see. They do. They're but expensive. Yeah. Well, like Bose makes one that's like 6 inches wide and it's like 6 foot tall, and it's supposed to emulate a line array. And so what we could do is if we bought like 3 of them, we could just hang them right here and it would be perfect. But they're like $2,000 each. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm going to do some research, see what I can find. Even if we find out that the best option's $10,000, I wouldn't say it's out of the question. It may take longer. So, yeah. Yeah, it just may take longer. So, that's kind of what I'm thinking, is hopefully maybe we could do it like that. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah. So, anyway, does anybody have anything else? Cheyenne's come on to help us. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. Yeah. I did too, but I didn't know how to get back on. Yeah. 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 Yeah, maybe we could do a three of us or something. We could do like here, you, and back there or something, to where it just goes to ears and that's it. Yeah.
Or if something happens, like, I don't play games. I hate that you have to turn off your video.
Yeah.
And everybody knows something's wrong.
Yeah.
Because they know that
Yeah.
we contacted you. And that's, to me, that's a humongous distraction.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for you.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I'm like, turn around, turn around,
Yeah.
turn around. But
Yeah. Then I tried to fix it, made it worse.
yeah, and then we're like mouthing to each other.
Yeah.
And then yeah, exactly.
Yo.
You guys are weirdos. Yeah, I mean, like,
We're all chicken. The one thing I didn't tell you guys is we created a new position also that is a service coordinator. It doesn't necessarily affect you guys a ton, but the service coordinator's job is to just make sure everybody has everything that they need. And so if y'all end up, in a pinch or whatever, it's going to be either Sherry or Rihanna every week. So often just alternating Sherry and Rihanna. So anyway, we're pretty excited about that. I'm going to meet with the ushers next week, and one of the things I'm going to tell them is we need an usher up front for things like I need a battery from the back. We shouldn't have that happen because we should make sure we have batteries up here. But in the event that we don't, or relay a message like Albert forgot to turn the tracks back on. Hey, can you go tell him to turn the tracks on? You know what I mean? But just it makes it less awkward if they're here. That's one thing an usher should do for us. So.
when you tell me, like, go get a battery, I'm like, okay, let me get it. And then I go back there and I can't open it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like,
What? Oh, yeah, to take it to us. You guys can, singers can step down, but that's it, yeah.
I can grab, I mean, if they need it, I can, me and Isaiah can, like, you give me $30 myself.
Yeah, I do.
Is there something that, if I was just for a teacher, for the ushers, something, a device, maybe a vibrator or something, whenever they're needed, I give what all of them are getting. So whoever gets first,
Probably.
do the whole service, like,
Yeah.
from practice time to the end, it's over.
A pager.
Like something, we do like chips, the table's ready. And like, and they can be kind of controlled from the sound of words, everyone needs to see it.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good. I don't know. I'll have to look at that. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? You guys are pretty awesome. Thank you for doing what you do. Like I said, you have the most pressure-packed part of the service. And so I appreciate what you guys do so much. Let's pray and we'll go. Awesome. God, thank you once again for this awesome day that you made for us. And thank you for allowing us to be used by you. God, we pray that we continue to get better and to grow in what we do and be an asset for your kingdom. God, we know that we don't take lightly what we do, but we know it's an important part and we count it as an honor and a privilege. God, we give you honor and we give you thanks. In Jesus' name, amen. Cool. You guys rock. Okay.